Nigeria's independence anniversary on Sunday was marred by the death of scores of persons and the destruction of properties after an accident occurred along the failed portions of the Benin-Sapele Expressway in Edo State. About 5 travelers were burnt beyond recognition. Arise correspondent Christy Macaulay visited the site of the incident.
Olobo is a border town between Edo and Delta states. The road links Edo to other parts of the South and beyond. The route has become a source of worry as several commuters and motorists go through a Herculean task to access it so as to get to their final destinations. Heavy-duty trucks conveying goods are worse hit as they spend longer hours accessing the road. The situation reached a tipping point on Sunday when a truck laden with petroleum products went up in flames, even as people within the community scrambled to scoop fuel from a falling tanker to make a quick buck. And 24 hours after the inferno, burnt bodies of victims and relics of burnt vehicles could still be seen littered within the area, with no sign of relevant government agencies such as the Federal Road Safety Commission, FRSC, or the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, available for an evacuation. Residents of the area have put the blame on the federal government for failing to recognize the importance of fixing the arterial road which links the Niger Delta states.
It's very bad. See, people are dying through away. See, motorists, lots of millions is wasted because of these incidents. Now we are trekking for Koko to Ologbona before we can see back to Ore. So I'm going to Ore now. Motor supposed to drop me at Benin and drop us at Koko.
In fact, we are begging you guys to fix this road. A lot of persons have been dying. Look at trucks. People are losing resources every day just because of your selfish interest. Why? We have the money to take care of this. We are begging.
Many here say another disaster is looming if efforts are not made to remove the corpses of the victims.
It was really terrible. We just passed a little across this place, just a little after this boundary, when we got the explosion. It's really alarming that the government is not even doing anything concerning this road. This road has been bad for like more than 5 years. It's been bad for like 5 years, and nothing has been done about it. And people are dying. Look at dead bodies all over the place. It's not nice. Like we have a lot of things going on in this country, but of course we are looking for just the basic things: road, good water, and of course electricity. If we can get these 3 things, we are not asking for too much.
See the road now, see yesterday, everywhere, burn. Many people enter inside the water, they burn for inside the water. Some enter inside the water around 12 o'clock yesterday. Where would they pass this road? The road not good at all. See my vehicle don't break down because of the bad condition of the road. The road not good. We plead to the government. May call to our aid. May they repair this road. If not, it will cause another disaster.
Arise News investigations show that the exact number of those dead is yet to be ascertained due to conflicting figures from the petroleum tanker fire incident.
Joining us now on the morning show is Senator Ede Dafinone, the senator representing Delta Central Senatorial District at the 10th National Assembly. Dafinone comes from the family of Senator David Dafinone, who holds the Guinness World Record for having the largest number of members in the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. Good morning, Senator Ede Dafinone. Thank you very much for joining us on the morning show. Well, I read your statement commiserating with the people who lost their lives in that unfortunate incident along the Benin-Sapele Road. And then you called on the federal government of Nigeria to fix those roads. Well, it's not only in your state that we have this problem. It's a similar problem in other parts of Nigeria. Do you have any hope that the federal government will at this time be serious about fixing any of those federal roads, despite even having instructed states not to touch federal roads and come later to come and submit inflated bills.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. First of all, let me again reiterate my condolences to the families of the victims of the fire disaster. We understand from the police reports that there were 5 casualties from that, aside from the millions of naira worth of property that was lost and damaged in the incident. The road there, that link road between Warri and Benin, has been bad for a considerable length of time. And we continue to draw the attention of the government agencies on the need to have repair work done on the road. In fact, in July, I wrote to FIRMA, NDDC, and also the Federal Ministry of Works, drawing their attention to the failed portions of the road and asking for those agencies to report back on what works have been done and what plans they have in order to get the roads repaired. We have replies from all the agencies, which shows that their focus is on repairing those roads. But as you said, and this has been reported to a large extent also in the Senate, that the problem of bad roads is a national problem, to the extent that all the senators were reporting failed roads in their part of the country, and eventually we had to make a resolution that no more reports of bad roads. It should all be collated and submitted as one document to the government. This has now been done, and I'm happy also to say that Senator Dave Umahi, the former governor of Ebonyi State, one of us, who was present when these reports were made, is now the Minister of Works, and he has a reputation for getting the job done. So in terms of my hope for the roads being repaired, yes, I do appreciate that there are scarce resources that government must allocate, but Senator Umahi has an extraordinary track record, and I have every confidence in him getting the job done.
Thank you, Senator Dafinone. I'd like to ask you, so you say you wrote all the appropriate stakeholders in terms of the ministries, and you got a letter responding to you. What was the content of the letter, the response of the letter? Were there any assurances made? Did they state a reason why the road was in that condition? You talked about scarce resources. Beyond scarce resources, would you also say political will and just creativity in finding ways to fund projects across the country might also be some of the challenges that we face? Because if you're saying that, or if the government is saying that there's no money, but people are dying, what then is the option? Do we continue to watch people die because of scarce resources, or do we just find a way to fix the issues?
Well, I would go for that latter option. Yes, there are scarce resources, but government's job is also to make sure that the scarce resources are allocated properly so that they meet the needs of the citizens of the country. The roads should not be allowed to get to the conditions where there is no road. The failed portion described, and I'm so happy to see the videos you showed this morning. There is no road in large segments of that Ologbo Junction. There's absolutely no road. So it is in trying to maneuver the craters that this petrol tanker fell over and the fire incident happened. Yes, scarce resources, but there are resources, and there should be emergency repairs that are affordable, that the government can implement urgently, because lives are being lost, property is being lost. The road falls within my jurisdiction. It falls within the Niger Delta. We're an oil-producing state, Delta state, and we would like to be able to see more resources devoted towards our roads.
Right, the first question, please, with regards to the response, the letter, the content, if you can share with us. Were there any promises made, or was it just an acknowledgement of the report you'd made to them?
Well, I see my assignment as being, or my approach as being twofold. One is formal engagement with the relevant authorities, and then also the informal engagement. So as part of the formal engagement, I wrote formally to make sure that this bad sections of that road in particular are drawn, the attention of the government agencies is drawn to that. In their responses, Federal Ministry of Works and also FIRMA drew our attention to the contracts they have issued for repairs and maintenance of sections of that road in detail. In terms of ongoing works, there was not much on that, and it is our engagement to push them to start work on those sections immediately.
Okay, so a couple of things, and good to see you, Senator. I'd like to know, when last did you drive on that road yourself? That's number one. Number two will be probably in expatiating on the creative ways. Does NDDC suffice in any way, shape, or form in all of this? Because somebody will have thought with the big, humongous monies NDDC gets and things like this, I mean, placating a road like this should not be a big deal. And thirdly, have you tried reaching out to the families of those involved? Have we really been able to get, the families of those involved? Because we don't humanize ourselves enough. People just die and they get burnt, and that's the end of it.
Thank you. To answer your first question, my route home to my senatorial district is either by air, that is, through the Benin airport or through the airport at Osubi. And I have found that the road between Sapele and Benin is so bad that where a journey should normally take 45 minutes to an hour, it is taking between 2 hours to 3 hours to make that journey. And at that point, I diverted my travel to the Osubi airport. So, to be honest, I've not been on that road for quite some time because of the extra time it takes to pass through that bad section.
Okay, that's the number one question. The second,
sorry, you had two more points.
So I had two more points. The second point will be about the creativity in solving the problem. I want us to solve the problem because worry is there to me, and I've applied that route many times in the past. Does NDDC suffice in all of this conversation as part of creative ways? Can something possibly be done with, the oil companies and tank farm owners around that area, maybe where you stretch down to cocoa, tank farm owners around there? Can anything suffice around there? We're talking about creative ways. And the third question will be about the families that lives were lost. Is there any attempt made to contact them? Let's even put a face to them. Let's even put a human face to the pain they feel.
Well, in terms of solutions, I had written to NDDC recognizing them as an interventionist agency that could possibly also contribute to the solution. They have put in their budget for 2024 various methods for tackling such problems. I'm not at liberty to go into the detail, but I will say that they are looking at different solutions come 2024, including partnership with stakeholders, partnerships with oil companies in order to get the job done. And roads will be a major focus of their approach for 2024 as well. I've seen the preliminary budget. It is still in the drafting stage, I should add.
Okay,
on reaching out to the families of...
Go ahead, Senator, on that. Go ahead.
Thank you. On reaching out to the families of the victims, you may have heard the report that the bodies were burnt beyond recognition. So it is a process of identifying those that have passed on that is presently ongoing. I don't have the details of the names of those who are deceased to be able to reach out to the families at this stage.
Well, Senator, I was going to ask you, one of the things you said in your reaction, initial reaction to this incident, is that people should be advised to stop scooping fuel when, you know, there is a trailer accident and all of that. How can anybody hope to achieve that? People who have been economically dispossessed, dealing with multidimensional poverty. I mean, they try to scoop fuel. It's not as if they are dumb. It's not as if they don't know the risk that they are running. So how do you think we can really persuade these people not to scoop fuel that can bring quick profit? Or you just say that, you know, just out of concern, not because you actually believe it will make any difference?
Well, we have to keep trying to pass the message on. You are so right. The people scooping the fuel do know the risk. The story has been well told countless times where these incidents have led to many deaths. But there are serious economic concerns nationwide, and the Delta region is not left out. The people scooping the fuel are looking at how they will make 500 naira, 5,000 naira quickly in order to feed themselves and their families. It is hard to dissuade them from scooping fuel. They are willing to take that risk, thinking that it will not affect them. It will affect the guys who are there in another hour or two. So we will continue pushing that message, hoping it will dissuade more and more people from scooping fuel. But yes, there's no guarantee that nobody will be scooping fuel at the next incident of an overturned trailer.
I'd like to get a perspective on the movement and transportation of commodities like fuel. I know this has been a topic of conversation for a while and might be a long-term, mid to long-term solution in terms of alternative ways by which we can move these commodities. We've seen a number of trailer accidents, and then when they topple over, it gives an opportunity for people to rush to the scene to try and make some money from scooping these, the fuel. And in the event, we've had quite disastrous situations or outcomes from this. What are the efforts you're making to ensure that, at least you're one man in the Senate, but ensuring that governments begin to think, explore options of transportation and movement of commodities beyond trailers on our roads that are not even, many of them not pliable or motorable in the first instance? That's one. And then the second thing is just to drive home or to emphasize the point of the scooping of the fuel and awareness raising. In your capacity, what have you done for your constituents? Number one, to raise awareness about it. Number two, to help to alleviate the sufferings of your people, whether it be through advocacy, through empowerment. I'd like to hear what you've been able to do for your constituents.
Thank you very much. On alternative ways of moving goods and services, including fuel, the train option is taking hold in the country. The constituents within Delta Central are making good use of the train between Alaja and Abuja. So trips to Abuja are now done by train by a large percentage of the population within Delta Central. Yes, the train is not available for fuel and goods at the moment, but that will come at a second phase. But notwithstanding the problems with the roads, yes, there should be alternatives, but the roads still need to be fixed. It still forms a basic way of movement between one location and the other, and should be, as is normal within most countries, the primary option for movement.
Right, so the second thing in terms of your constituents.
Raising awareness.
And also support to lift yes. Constituents out of poverty.
Let me take the second part of that first. 17, 18 years ago, I ran primaries for the Senate, and I was not successful. And I started that year a foundation to help my people. The position taken then was that it's not only people in government that can support people within their area, people within their community. So I've been running a skill acquisition center for about 16 years, empowering about 2,000 people over this period, training them in hairdressing, catering, tailoring, metal bending, aluminium, computer studies, a variety of skills in order to see how the young people can be better empowered to make more of their lives. I intend to multiply that across more local governments while being in the Senate to make sure that there are more options available to the young people in order to make better lives and better citizens of the country. Your second part of the question was on raising awareness. The awareness issue is one of the reasons I'm here today. So by being on a rise this morning, I hope to emphasize the need to urgently repair that particular road, Warri to Benin axis. There are so many failed portions. The journey that would take an hour and a half from Warri to Benin previously is taking 5 or 6 hours. And some cases, that also raises security issues where people are also getting robbed. The failed sections force motorists to slow down, and they easily become victims to robbers and kidnappers. So again, I emphasize, this is the Niger Delta. This is the heart of the oil-producing region. And we would like to see more resources devoted to our roads to ensure that the lives of the citizens of Delta Central, Delta State, the Niger Delta, is improved through better commuting and better movement of goods and services.
Okay, Senator, so this is still a question about ideas. The Senatorial District Delta Center is a very important one. Has places like Uwie, part of it, Sapele, and other areas, Ughelli South, very prominent one. I want to pick on Sapele, for instance. I had the pleasure of staying in Sapele, precisely on Gorodi. And I knew how Sapele used to be the heartland of that great economic swell in Delta State. You had the plywood, you had rubber. In fact, the mark of Sapele there was when you're coming in, you're hearing the rich rubber smell that is processed, the plywood, the American company that processed paper and all of that, the milling companies, all the other companies. Those were the ancillary industries that made Sapele, not even the oil and gas. If you go down to Ughelli, you remember Better Glass and the likes. They were industrial areas.
Correct.
So the days of the boom was not even because of the oil companies alone. There were many ancillary companies around that. Senator, how can we go back to those glory days? There we had a lot of ancillary industries. Now the young people are in advanced fee internet fraud and all sorts of vices. There's a lot of restiveness and all of that. But how can we go back to building that economy?
I'm glad you picked on Sapele because that is where I'm from and that is where I live. So it's an ideal example that I can take forward. You're so right. Going through the 60s, 70s, even early 80s, Sapele was a boom town. There are very few Urhobo people that did not school in Sapele. That is how commercialized Sapele was at that time. How can we bring it back? Among the promises made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was campaigning, Ovie Oma Agege, our former deputy president of the Senate when he was campaigning, and myself, was to reinvigorate the ports within Delta Central, and particularly Sapele Port. Sapele Port at the moment is being used by the Navy on loan, and it is our feeling that if we could pass the port back for daily economic activity to receive goods from abroad, that would be an amazing start to the recovery of the town that was once a commercial center within Delta Central.
Well, Senator, let me ask you a question. This matter that we're discussing, have you spoken to the governor about it? Because isn't there a role for the state government? If the road is so bad, can the state government intervene in the people's interest? I know that the federal government is always uncomfortable when people bring bills. State governors bring bills. They will say, oh, this road was done without consultation with the federal government. But isn't there something that the state government can do, at least to just make those roads, more motorable? And Sapele plywood, is that not a part of your family's heritage? Or I'm wrong? I don't know. Somebody was telling me you are the owner of Sapele plywood factory, or you are associated with it one way or the other. But that's on the lighter side. Have you spoken with the governor?
Plywood, no, but rubber, yes. So we have extensive rubber plantations within Sapele and have a rubber factory exporting rubber around the world. Just to clear that up. On the roads, I think even where the federal government is unable or unwilling to settle bills on roads where state governments have worked on, it is still important that where a state government sees that a road is failed and nothing is happening, that they intervene. They should not sit back and wait for the federal government to come and rescue the road. It impacts on the lives, businesses of their people. And so if there's no solution coming from the federal government or it's taking too long, the state government should also put pressure, firstly, on the federal government agencies. And if nothing is done, they should also take action. The impact on lives and property, we cannot overemphasize that. 5 lives were lost last week. It's not a good story on the Independence Day of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right. Senator Dafinone, I'd like to ask you, in terms of the cost of the loss, do you have an idea of, because beyond, the lives that were lost, irreparable, we cannot, you cannot put a cost on lives. But we also had losses in terms of property, motorcycles, buses, and the likes. Aside from that, in terms of, do you have a cost of what was lost? And then, is there any plans for compensation for the victims? Or any way to support these victims, especially those perhaps who are still receiving treatment, those who are, who've lost properties, families of the deceased? What are the plans to reach out to them?
On a figure on the cost, no, I don't have that. There are pictures and evidence of vehicles burnt, the goods that were lost. That is not to underplay the lives that were lost. And the collation of those losses is something that would be done by underwriters and insurance companies. Although I should say that we are significantly underinsured in the country, and it is highly likely that most of that property damaged was not insured. I think we need a greater level of insurance within the country. People should be aware that insurance is worth taking, and there are benefits in insuring your goods and properties around the country. Sorry, the last part of your question again?
In terms of compensation.
There was one more section.
I was asking about compensation. Any plans for compensation especially for those, like you mentioned, many of them perhaps would not have insurance. You might have heard about maybe from the government, from the state government at national level, what plans are in place for these people who've lost properties, who've lost bosses, businesses that have suffered, and of course, families of the deceased?
I'm not sure that there is any plan at the moment for compensation for the victims, and I'm not sure where that compensation would come from. I appreciate that the road is a responsibility of the federal government, but I don't think there's a record in the past of compensation being paid to victims in this type of scenario. Having said that, there is nothing stopping federal government agencies or state agencies looking out for those that have made losses and putting forward some sort of compensation. Although a precedent being set of this nature could open the door to an untold number of compensation claims that would rely on that precedent. So I think it's cheaper to fix the road than to wait for compensation claims.
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's just in the interim. This has happened now. It's going forward that would fix the roads. But there are people who are already affected now. But thank you very much for your time this morning, Senator Ede Dafinone, and just speaking to us and raising awareness. Really important issues we've talked about, especially with regards to the Benin-Warri Road axis.